Hey everyone, Insane Frame here, welcome on in. Today we're going to ask, can you beat Fallout 4 with poison? This challenge is going to be very difficult since poison is really bad in Fallout 4. The reason it's so terrible is the damage, unlike other weapons, means you have to wait around as enemies die. Think of it as a poor man's bleed effect, but only a few weapons can actually utilise poison, so it's very limited, very bad damage, and is not great. Also, the only grenade we can use, if you can even call it that, are the poisonous caltrops. They at least make the enemies flinch with awful damage, so it's something to work with. But already you can see this is going to be a horrible run. So let's quickly go over the rules. We may only use poisons to deal damage, no glitches or exploits, no cheating or modding, and we're going to be playing on very hard difficulty. So with everything set, let's go on in. The game starts on up, and with the help of the bathroom mirror, we make Rowdy from the Atom Cat since she's pretty damn cool. Vault-Tec gets us to sign our name and we decide our stats, and then it's time to meet our Sakashitake mushrooms in his crib. After all of that, Rowdy gets frozen only to see Kellogg cornflakes do his dastardly deeds. Once we're released, the usual act of locking out the rad roaches ensues, and with a Pip-Boy in hand, it's time to leave the vault. As we see the wasteland for the first time, we decide to just skip Sanctuary and make a beeline for the lovable doggo, Dogmeat. He is going to be our primary source of damage and the best doggo in the whole wasteland because he's a fluffy boy. Our first act is going to Trudy's with Dogmeat. This is actually extremely important. Dogmeat is a good doggo and kills Simone and Wolfgang, so we get the essential level up. With this level up, we get Science rank 1, and with that we can build industrial water purifiers, preparing for the long game. And after scrapping many things, all of our resources go into the water purifiers, and we gaze upon our success with Dogmeat. Whilst we wait for the water purifiers to make, well, purified water, it's off to Diamond City to find Piper at the gate doing whatever it is she does. And upon arriving, a merchant everyone forgets in Diamond City is Polly the Butcher, ladies and gentlemen. She sells different meats, which we'll need for our grand plan. And then once we buy what we need, we go back to Sanctuary, and the first steps of the plan are indeed in motion. But before we do any of that, Sunshine Tidings is ridiculously important as well, and for one reason. That is the Wasteland Survival book. So we get an extra portion of meat on animal kills, including insects, almost doubling our gains. This is simply fantastic. Our first farm, which I like to call a bug's death, is doing well. I think this is where I can explain what's going on. So our goal is to get rad scorpion stingers. We need to farm rad scorpions for that, but in order to get them, we need stingwing meat. A stingwing has a 1 in 4 chance of spawning out the insect cages, and we also have the mole rat cages, allowing us to repair these cages with ease, and also we can earn a cap or two from it. So after a few hours of farming the little critters, it's now time for the big critters. They're dangerous critters, and I think the settlers are going to hate us massively, but at least the scorpions are now a thing, and we have a way of getting stingers, although we only get 1 stinger from a total of 5 rad scorpions. But we get our first venom syringe for our syringer, but I can safely say this is going to take a while for sure. But we press on, and all the chaos around us, all the bugs, the whole settlement deals with them since we still can't attack, but everything around us ironically can attack. But we are getting a net plus in the stingwing department whilst also getting our grilled rad scorpions. However, all of this only gives us 1 stinger. You heard this right. All of this chaos on screen right now just gives us 1 stinger, so we have to find a way to speed this up pronto. Desperate times call for desperate measures, so we go ahead and build ourselves the nightmare fuel that is a rad scorpion farm. The scorpions even take a while to kill, even with this many turrets shooting them to hell. Whilst this does speed all of this up, we're only getting a handful of stingers. That is not good, and then this is when I realised this whole farm business we're doing, there is actually a simple solution because, ladies and gentlemen, I have to admit fault here, I am a moron. It was at this moment I realised I messed up. The bleed out syringe only requires oil and fiberglass along with steel. So all of this insect farming that is very well unnecessary, and yeah, but On the bright side, this also means we have a lot of healing items and can sell a ridiculous amount to make, well, loads of ammo. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We make our first batch of bleed out syringes. Many more batches will come, but we're certainly going to need them, gotta say that much. And also, I'm dreading the Kellogg fight at Fort Hagen, so there's that as well. Now that ammo isn't a problem, we head over to the Triggermen.
One eternity later.
And reality hits since this weapon is really bad. I mean really bad. To the point it's easier to use any melee weapon in the game with a bleed effect, like a switchblade for example. But it's what we're stuck with, so after a few skirmishes, the Triggermen are down since Dogmeat is the MVP here. Although a group of Triggermen is a huge headache, but it took 25 minutes to get to the entrance of where we need to go, and then it's back to more fighting. Realising the syringer belongs in the trash, we make a quick stop in Sanctuary to get some poison caltrops. You throw these on the floor, enemies stagger when they run over them, so nice to have I guess, but it's just 11 damage. But we go ahead and go for round 2, and turns out the poison from the caltrops and the syringer does stack. So there's something workable and inexpensive to make, so the rest of the Triggermen are not a problem. However, when we go and see Dino, he's actually quite tricky, but we do manage to beat him thanks to Dogmeat because he's a good boyo. But when Valentine is saved, we actually have a team of 3. He has a pipe revolver, a huge damage boost for us. It's actually strange to think our companions deal more damage than us, but hey, there is a way to get more out of the syringer. If you use VATS, it ignores the reload property of the syringer's next attack, allowing a straight double tap. This is great, but it still costs a lot of action points. We eventually get through all the Triggermen and get to Skinny Malone. I wish this was like the Tesla cannon fight, but it drags on, and Darla is actually the biggest threat here because she's a melee fighter with her baseball bat, but once she's dealt with, it's slowly taking everyone out one by one, and God, I just hate this weapon. However, after all the Triggermen business, it's now that time in the run. We go with Nick to Diamond City and we go to his office and get interviewed. Kellogg Cornflakes is mentioned, so we go to the dastardly villain's lair and flip the super not so secret switch under his desk to reveal his super not so secret lair, because all of this is now on YouTube. And we talk to Nick and it's time to go and get Kellogg Cornflakes. We make our way to Fort Hagen, and when we arrive, I did the unthinkable. I forgot Dogmeat, so we'll need him badly in Fort Hagen. Now that we've determined I'm an awful person because I forgot Dogmeat, Fort Hagen is tough as nails since a big problem arises. We can't poison any simps. We can only gun bash them with the syringer. Again, got to admit, this weapon is bad and the bash damage is just awful, but it does get the job done very, very slowly. Healing items are becoming essential to succeed here. No idea how we're going to go up against the Institute if all we can do is gun bash their forces. This is definitely going to be a problem, but thanks to Dogmeat, it is possible, albeit very slowly to go on through. Then we get to Kellogg. Oh boy, Kellogg is a headache. He scales to our level, since we're level 19, since we crafted so much ammo. He has a lot of health, and to make matters worse, he has 2 bodyguards. So things are not looking great. But the syringer does work on him at least. So we draw Kellogg away from his bodyguards and get Dogmeat into fighting shape, allowing us to steadily take out his 2 bodyguards. As for Kellogg himself, it's a very long fight. He also has stim packs he likes to use, so yeah, not great. But after almost an hour at Fort Hagen, we get the most satisfying conclusion to a Kellogg fight. Then we see the Brotherhood arrive, unlocking the path ahead for us. These guys will be important later. But since Kellogg is dead, it's time to go to the memory den with his brain. Dr. Amari hooks us both up in the memory den and we get to see Kellogg's memories, allowing us to traverse. Kellogg meets up with an Institute courser, only to find a rogue scientist in the glowing sea. So it's our job to go get them. And then after we are released, Dr. Amari is actually kind enough to point us to Nick and we head out on our own from here. So it's over to the radiation pit known as the glowing sea, and whilst we're there, we might as well try to take on the Deathclaw outside Virgil's cave, since it wouldn't be sport in skipping it after all. And the Deathclaw puts up quite the fight. However, at one point it can't reach us, and well, we fire many poison rounds into it and eventually kill it. So we can say we killed a Deathclaw this run. Quite bonkers to think about, actually. But then Virgil says we need to hijack the molecular relay, a teleporter for the Institute. Very few are able to access it, so we have to kill a Corsair and take the chip in their head. So it's over to good old Green Tech Genetics. When we get to Green Tech Genetics, the gunners aren't too bad, since it turns out Vatson this poison build is actually viable, and since we have some extra agility, the extra shot actually makes all the difference. It's not half bad. I can't believe I'm saying that about this, but I will say it's not the worst, but still, yeah, not my cup of tea. So we do what any self-respecting Brit would do, and we just run like hell. We barge into the elevator, so now we get to quite frankly, the strangest fight this run. The Corsair is a fairly tanky guy, without a shadow of a doubt, but he gets stun-locked on the ground, and since he doesn't gel up for whatever reason, I don't know why, and I don't even know, but there you go. But dog meat bites, we gun bash, and before you know it, we have the Corsair chip in our hands. With the Corsair chip in our hands, we head to the Old North Church. We deal with some ghouls, pumping them with buckets of chems. And after our scuffle, we get to the railroad, and Desdemona is impressed for a change. Oh my days, and we have a polite exchange, and before you know it, we're in the railroad HQ and get Tinker Tom to decode our chip. They keep the chip, but we get the code, and we're not going to Virgil just yet though. So the faction we'll be siding with will be the Minutemen. So it's time for us to claim some settlements. It's easy peasy, since we do a very admittedly underhanded way of getting the settlements by killing the settlers and claiming the area as our own. It's the fastest way of us getting settlements, and before you know it, we're in a very good position with 9 settlements, enough for us to pass the Forming Ranks quest, which needs 8 settlements. Settlements in hand, we just have to get the Minutemen involved now. So we go to the Museum of Freedom. The raiders are easily dealt with, which is quite refreshing actually. And after a few raiders bite the dust, it's then time to meet our allies this run, Preston and Co, aka the Minutemen. They're held up in the Museum of Freedom and they want us to kill more raiders, but we defeated Kellogg Cornflakes earlier, so we had the cleanup crew known as the Brotherhood of Steel. They just absolutely clean the place like mad Stimpack janitors or something, including the Deathclaw. So thank you guys, you are amazing and you're using your manners most excellent. After everything has been done, we go inside and we speak to Preston, and he wants us to join him in Sanctuary. So once we do that, we then go ask Preston what he wants us to do, and of course another settlement needs our help. But after a while, Preston finally says the castle needs our help. So all is going to plan, and we're almost at the end now. The Institute are going to be a hard fight with all the enemies around, but this is the last hurdle this run. The obstacles at the castle are not too bad on first glance. The first being Milux, but lucky for us we have Preston Co. So we got lots and lots of musket fire and lasers just popping off. Our poison actually does affect them, so that's also nice. However, we get the boss battle, and that is the Milux Queen. This thing, I'll be honest, I'm not even sure if it's immune to poison since its health pool is so large. We can't really gun bash it, so it's mainly waiting for our allies to take it out. It takes a very, very long time, but eventually we do manage it thanks to the Minutemen. So, with the hardest part of the run done, it's now time to head in the late game. So, we go back to Virgil, obtain the blueprint, then it's time to build a mad teleporting time machine like Doctor Who would do, and Sturgis decides to teleport us into the Institute, allowing us to see what all the fuss is about. As we descend the elevator and Father's on the intercom, it's time to meet the true villain of Fallout 4, the Child Synth, the most evil of all the Fallout villains other than the Master. But frankly, Father just shuts him off because, yeah, that's Father for you. But he tries to get us to join the Institute. Of course, we refuse since we are with the Minutemen people. So On our refusal, the Institute is now our enemy, so we go tell Preston and it's on. Now that everything is going swimmingly, it's time for the next big obstacle, and that is Sarge. He isn't affected by poison, so it's using Ronnie's Shaw and Dogmeat to just StarCraft Zerg rush them over and over and over. You kind of get the message at this point. It takes a long time, about 25 minutes in real time, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. But it's possible, so after our 25 minutes are up, Sarge blows up, the victory is ours, and then we don the Minutemen general uniform, giving us some pretty nice defences actually, and when the artillery is installed, we are rolling with the heavy hitting stuff thanks to Ronnie. I might do a run in the future where we use artillery from the start of the run, so comment down below if that's something you'd like to see. But also, we've now done everything, so it's time to defend the castle, and we went bonkers, I mean bonkers, with heavy machine gun turrets, courtesy of our Rad Scorpion farm from earlier in the run, and also gaining loads of material. So the Institute can't really do anything against us, so we're pretty much squared away to go. So now it's on to our last mission. Preston points us towards Sturgis, and Sturgis says he's found the Institute base. So we now have to storm the Institute. So here we go into the finale. We go through the sewers, and it's actually not too bad since we do have Aqua Boy and we can just swim through. It's not too difficult. So rather than fight everything and gun bash them, we just run past anything, and sure enough, we managed to get through the pipe into the Institute entrance. So we're on the last stretch of the game, and the first part we once again just run past everything, not even giving the enemies a chance. But in bioscience, an unlikely threat shows up in the form of the gorillas. They're actually wrecking the Minutemen, and in most runs they're not actually that much of a problem since you can just put them down. But here we just can't deal the damage to actually get rid of them. So yeah, it turns out having poor damage and not dealing with these primates means we simply run to the next area. That's how bad our damage is. The main plaza takes a long time since the Minutemen can't really dish out the damage. Preston, for some reason, disappears. We can hear him, but he's not fighting. So yeah, I guess it's confirmed Preston has bailed on us. So it's up to us and the Minutemen grunts. And once again, this takes a while, but our soldiers keep spawning in. The advantage eventually goes in our favour, even if it's a slow burn. As with the Myler Queen, patience is our best friend here, and we take the victory. And then we got one more surprise as it's time to meet Father, and something unexpected happens. Turns out he was acting like he was dying all along, since he's up on his feet. How? Don't know. It's the first time for everything, I guess. But we get to advanced systems, place the pulse charge, and Preston is nowhere to be seen. So we go back into advanced systems, and Preston is right here. So come along now, Preston, and we get teleported out. The Charles Imp decides to try and get out, but we say no. They are the ultimate villain, ladies and gentlemen. So we teleport out, ending the run, answering the question, can you beat Fallout 4 using only poisons? And yes, you can, but it's not a run I'd recommend. Right, that was a tough run. The poison run was very long, very tough, but we got there in the end. It definitely is a sort of marathon run, but yeah, I didn't realise the Institute Simps couldn't be poisoned, so gun bashing was our only option there, and Dogmeat was the MVP here. As for the next challenge, we're going to do a special run in New Vegas. We'll be playing as the Ghoul from the Fallout TV show. A few of you have been asking for it, and well, I don't want to disappoint, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you have a nice day. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Ta-ta for now.